I had a beautiful Easter, really rich, deep, emotional Easter. The night before, Saturday night, I was sitting up a little late, perhaps, dozed off, and I woke up, and there was the Ten Commandments, because it was also Passover, was on the screen, and I woke up just in time to see Moses, or if you're a Reformed Jew, Charlton Heston. Reformed Jews, I think, believe in Charlton Heston, but Moses parting the Red Sea. And I don't know if you remember the scene. The soldiers, the Pharaoh's soldiers, are coming to get the Jews as they're escaping from slavery, and they're up against the Red Sea, and people start to doubt whether they're going to be killed. And Moses says to them, 10 times you have seen God do these miracles. What is your problem? And Edward G. Robinson is there. He plays the voice of doubt. And Edward G. is like, were there no graves in Egypt? See that we're going to die? They're taking us out here to die. And then, of course, Moses says, behold, the mighty work of the Lord. And the Red Sea parts, and I was thinking, it's the movie's a little dated now. It's a little clunky. It's a little corny, but I found it incredibly moving. And I was wondering why I found the story so moving. And one of the ways to read any important story, any good story, whether it's a true story, any story that moves you, is as what is called a psychomachy, which means a psychic battle. And that means when you read something as a psychomachy, it means that every character in there is you. It's also just a battle that's going on in your own mind. And you can read almost any great story, even true stories, you can read them as a psychomachy. And I was thinking as I was watching that the reason this moved me so much is because it was like a little symbol, a little parable of my own life. That in my own life, when things rise up and things look difficult, I frequently turn into Edward G. Robinson and saying, we're through now. Things are, it's all over, see? And then, of course, if I look back, I see that all through my life, God has parted the waters. And that doesn't mean that everything always goes great. What it means is you continue your march to the promised land, your march to the life you're supposed to have and the soul and the joy that you're supposed to have if you just keep your faith and you keep moving. And that has happened to me again and again. And what was getting me about this is it really pains me to see how the media covers religion, and especially how they cover Easter. And some of this is, left-wing hostility toward Christianity, because the left hates Christianity because they hate Western culture, and Western culture comes out of Christianity. It's kind of like, getting angry at your mom all the time because you don't like who you are. And some of them hate, but some of them are believing Christians who just want to wrestle Christianity into saying, what it is they wanted to say. The guy I was referring to, that joke about the game show, I was referring to NPR, which was writing a story about the Pope. There's this old atheist guy, he's in his 90s or something like this, who says he's had many conversations with the Pope and he didn't take any notes, but he remembers them. And he's always publishing this stuff that says the Pope said something he almost certainly could not have said. And he published something saying the Pope had said there's no hell. And the Vatican pushed back and said the Pope believes what the Church believes, which you are in, if you don't follow Jesus, you are in danger of the pains of hell when you die. And NPR was reporting this. And at the end, they just wanted to remind you, they said Easter is the day celebrating the idea that Jesus did not die and go to hell or purgatory or anywhere like that, but rather arose into heaven. Easter is on Sunday. And of course, Christians, like most of America, which means most of America, generally believe that Jesus died and was buried and went to hell, and he did what was called harrowing hell. Harrow is like a rake. He harrowed hell, where he took all the people who had died before salvation arose, who were not supposed to be in hell, and he lifted them out of hell. And then on the third day, he rose. And it was just kind of like, you're writing about religion for NPR, which is supposed to be this quality network. Can't you even know what Easter is, the major holiday of the major religion from which all of Western civilization springs, from which your country's principles spring? Really? I mean, you went to journalism school and nobody said, you know what, when you write about Easter, you ought to know what it's for. But then there were all these guys who were writing from an ostensibly Christian perspective, trying to just stretch Christianity into left-wingism. So, and I feel people on the right do this a little bit too, that, it's traditionally in the Christian religion, there are things that we believe about marriage, things we believe about sexuality and all this. But But Jesus didn't come to earth for that. He didn't look around and say, oh, people are running around having too much sex in the wrong way. I better hurry to earth, get my cape and I'll fly down to earth. That's not what the religion is at its essence. It really is about salvation for all mankind, life in abundance for all mankind. So at CNN, or the Church of CNN, John Blake, a producer, he writes, how Easter became a Me Too moment. Okay. And he writes about Mary Magdalene being the first. The women were the first to see Christ risen, and they ran back to tell the men that they had seen the risen Christ. And the book of Luke says, but the men did not believe the women because their words seemed to them like nonsense, right? And he says, well, this is, just like Me Too, that women have all these things to say, but men don't believe in them because they're women. The men didn't believe the women because didn't not believe the women because they were women. They didn't believe the women because they were telling them that a dead man had arisen. Right? That was kind of like, it sounded like nonsense to them. And, it's just like this twisting of thing. And the one that really bugged me was this cheap shot that Stephen Colbert took at Donald Trump. Because Stephen Colbert does know. He's a Catholic, a believing Catholic. I've always had the feeling that Colbert is a pretty decent guy. He's a Sunday school teacher. He really does know what this is all about. So he has this dumb cartoon. I think it's called Our Cartoon President. And he used this to attack Trump, making Trump look like, the worst unreligious guy. Do we have a clip from this? Can we play that?
How was church today?
Uneventful. They love me over there.
President Satan. That's what many are calling President Trump after he was caught on a hot mic committing the biggest religious gaffe since Reagan armed the Taliban.
Was that Joseph guy a putz or what? Clearly he wasn't taking care of Mary's needs. I mean, if God knocked up my wife, he'd never dunk again. I'd cut off God's penis.
Sir, I think that's a hot mic.
Mike, stop acting like a tech buff. You think your great-grandfather hunted dinosaurs. How do grown adults still worship Jesus? I mean, where was Jesus when the Taj Mahal was at a standstill with the unions?
So of course, Hillary Clinton was very upset about it, and she issued this statement.
To me personally, this video is disgusting and reprehensible. It appears to have a deeply cynical purpose to denigrate a great religion and to provoke rage.
Oh, wait, that was the Benghazi Islamic video. I forgot, the left doesn't complain when people attack Christianity, only Islam. Last one of this Christian thing, and then I'll move on to this other thing that is bugging me. Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove, who is, in fact, I think, a Christian writer, he wrote, on Easter Sunday, Christians must remember how easily and often our faith is used to defend white supremacy. That is what you should be thinking about on Easter Sunday. It's just like it's just everybody has got to get like Jesus on their side instead of doing what you're supposed to do, which is paying attention to your problems, your sins, and not judging other people. Just saying.